Long before the Cherokee laid claim to the fertile valleys and forested hills of the Appalachian Mountains, whispers of strange beings drifted through the ancient woods. Imagine a hidden people with pale, ghostly skin that shimmered under moonlight, and eyes so large and reflective that they could see clearly in the dark, yet faltered in the light of day. Known as the Moon-Eyed People, they lived in stone fortresses nestled deep within the wilderness, moving silently through the shadows and vanishing before dawn. To the Cherokee, they were not warriors but quiet, reclusive beings, peaceful yet strange, like visitors from a different realm. Though they left behind no written history, their presence lingers in legend, with only enigmatic stone ruins marking where they once dwelled. Some say they were spirits, others suggest they were survivors of a forgotten civilization. The truth of who or what they were remains shrouded in mystery, lost beneath the same moonlight that once guided their every step. This is the story of the Moon-Eyed People. The story of the Moon-Eyed People begins with whispers carried through the hills and valleys of the Appalachian Mountains. This mysterious group stood out not only for their unique physical features, but also for their reclusive, nocturnal lifestyle. The Cherokee preserved stories of these beings as a part of their oral tradition, and those tales serve as a glimpse into a lost way of life, one guided by the phases of the moon and concealed beneath the shadows of stone walls. The Moon-Eyed People's most remarkable feature was their translucent, pale skin. This ghostly complexion set them apart from the sun-tanned Cherokee and other tribes in the region. Their skin was said to gleam faintly in moonlight, giving them an otherworldly spectral appearance. This led some Cherokee storytellers to speculate that the Moon-Eyed People were not entirely human, or that they lived close to the spirit world, existing in a liminal space between the living and the dead. Their large, round blue eyes were the second striking feature. These eyes, adapted for darkness, reflected moonlight in a manner similar to nocturnal animals such as owls. Their visual prowess gave them unparalleled clarity at night, but in daylight, those same eyes rendered them vulnerable. This daytime blindness forced the Moon-Eyed People into a strictly nocturnal lifestyle, making them creatures of the night. During the day, they would hide in caves, stone fortresses, or other dark places, avoiding sunlight as if it were poison. Their small, stocky bodies were another distinguishing trait. Unlike the tall, athletic warriors of the Cherokee, the Moon-Eyed People were described as compact and physically fragile. This frailty, combined with their aversion to sunlight, shaped the way they interacted with the world. They avoided open conflict and sought safety within their stone homes, blending into the environment through stealth rather than strength. Their movements were said to be silent and careful, making it difficult to detect their presence even at night. Moon-Eyed People were also described as having light-colored hair, specifically blonde or fair hair, and bearded faces. The Moon-Eyed People were known for building intricate stone fortresses, which served as both homes and defensive structures. These dwellings were scattered across the rugged terrain of the Appalachian Mountains, often placed on high ridges or tucked within forests, hidden from sight. The architecture of these structures was unlike the Cherokee's wooden lodges, with thick, overlapping stone walls that required advanced knowledge of masonry. Each stone home was deliberately low to the ground, making it easier to block out sunlight during the day. Narrow doorways and small openings minimized the amount of light that could enter, ensuring that the interiors stayed cool and dim. Inside, spaces were organized around a central hearth to provide warmth during the cold mountain nights. The thick stone walls not only offered insulation, but also gave the Moon-Eyed People a sense of security. These homes were simple yet durable, a reflection of their self-sufficient and isolated way of life. The most famous remnant believed to be connected to the Moon-Eyed People is the Fort Mountain Wall in present-day Georgia. The stone wall, which stretches more than 850 feet along the mountain ridge, appears to have been constructed as a form of fortification. Its winding design and massive stones suggest that it was built to protect the people inside, or perhaps to mark territory. Some Cherokee legends attribute this wall directly to the Moon-Eyed People, reinforcing the idea that they once lived in these remote, fortified settlements. The Moon-Eyed People were entirely nocturnal, only emerging from their homes under the cover of darkness. Their routines were tied to the phases of the moon, and they were most active on moonlit nights. The bright light of the full moon gave them freedom to hunt, gather food, and socialize without fear of injury or blindness from sunlight. During these nights, they moved through the forest with remarkable stealth, leaving little trace of their activities. The Cherokee believed that the Moon-Eyed People were spiritually attuned to the rhythms of the lunar cycle. The moon's light guided their movements, influenced their mood, and perhaps even governed their decisions. Some suggest that the Moon-Eyed People held moonlit gatherings or ceremonies, though the details of such rituals have been lost to time. Because they avoided daylight, the Moon-Eyed People relied heavily on their environment to provide food and resources. They were believed to have been skilled hunters and gatherers, focusing on nocturnal prey such as small animals, birds, and even bats. They also gathered herbs and plants that thrived in the shade of the forest canopy. Their ability to live off the land without disturbing the natural order contributed to their reputation as peaceful but strange beings. The Moon-Eyed People's isolation extended beyond their homes. They also kept a social distance from other tribes. The Cherokee rarely saw them during the day, and the Moon-Eyed People made little effort to interact or trade. This reclusive nature, combined with their unusual appearance and nocturnal habits, made them a subject of suspicion and fear. Despite their mysterious ways, the Moon-Eyed People were known to be peaceful, avoiding confrontation whenever possible. If threatened, they would retreat to their stone fortresses or vanish into the night, leaving no trace of their presence. This lack of aggression led the Cherokee to view them with a mixture of curiosity and unease, as they did not fit the typical patterns of interaction among indigenous peoples. Some Cherokee elders speculated that the Moon-Eyed People were harbingers of misfortune, beings whose presence foreshadowed strange or ominous events. This belief only deepened the air of mystery surrounding them. Yet for all their strangeness, the Moon-Eyed People were not hostile, and the Cherokee allowed them to live in the shadowed corners of the mountains, at least for a time. While the Moon-Eyed People lived in harmony with nature, their existence seemed to defy the normal rhythms of the day, leading to speculation that they were not entirely of this world. The origin of the Moon-Eyed People is shrouded in layers of speculation, folklore, and conjecture. Cherokee oral tradition offers hints but no definitive answers, leaving room for theories ranging from ancient indigenous origins to supernatural connections and even transatlantic voyages. One prominent theory is that the Moon-Eyed People were an ancient indigenous group, predating the arrival of the Cherokee in the Appalachian region. Archaeological evidence supports the idea that other societies lived in the area long before the Cherokee, including mysterious builders of stone structures whose identity remains unknown. These ruins suggest that earlier inhabitants may have practiced different customs, including constructing fortresses and stone walls, much like those attributed to the Moon-Eyed People. Some Cherokee elders believe the Moon-Eyed People might have belonged to a tribe that had migrated or evolved separately from others, developing unique traits such as their pale skin and nocturnal habits. Their small stature and reclusive nature could reflect adaptations to the harsh mountain environment, where isolation from the sun and protection from predators would have been essential. This theory is reinforced by the fact that ancient cultures in North America, including the builders of mound complexes in Ohio and the Southeast, were known to have vanished or faded from history without explanation. The Moon-Eyed People may represent another such lost civilization, blending into myth as their presence was forgotten by the broader indigenous population. Cherokee mythology also leaves open the possibility that the Moon-Eyed People were not fully human, but instead creatures from the spirit world. This supernatural interpretation aligns with the descriptions of their ghostly appearance, large eyes, and aversion to sunlight which seem otherworldly by nature. In some legends, the Moon-Eyed People are depicted as beings who accidentally entered the physical world, becoming trapped and forced to live among humans until they could find a way back to their realm. The Cherokee have long believed in hidden beings, spirits or mystical creatures that dwell in darkness, caves, and remote places. Some say that the moon-eyed people may have been a manifestation of night spirits, beings that thrived in moonlight and avoided the sun for fear it would destroy them. This theory suggests that their disappearance into caves was not just a retreat from conflict, but a return to the spirit world, explaining why they were never seen again. This supernatural origin offers a metaphorical explanation for their existence. It reflects the Cherokee's reverence for the unknown, acknowledging that some beings might live according to different rules, connected to realms beyond human understanding. Another possibility is that the moon-eyed people were survivors of a long-forgotten catastrophe, such as a famine, plague, or environmental disaster. If they had once been part of a larger, thriving society, the disaster may have forced them into isolation in the mountains, where they gradually adapted to life in darkness. Over generations, they could have lost the ability to live in sunlight, becoming dependent on the moon for survival. Their stone homes and nocturnal habits may have evolved as survival strategies, the fortresses offering protection from both predators and enemy tribes, while nocturnal behavior allowed them to avoid competition for resources with other groups. This theory offers a practical explanation for their strange way of life, framing the moon-eyed people as victims of circumstance who adapted to survive in an unforgiving environment. The mountains and caves of the Appalachians would have provided the perfect refuge for such survivors. If their population dwindled over time, they may have eventually disappeared into legend, with only their stone structures and the memories preserved by the Cherokee left behind. It is possible that the truth lies in a combination of these theories. The moon-eyed people may have been a small, ancient group of indigenous people with unique physical traits. Their isolation in the mountains could have given rise to stories about their strange appearance and behaviors, which later merged with elements of myth and legend. Over time, the line between history and folklore may have blurred, leaving us with only fragments of the truth. Their stone structures serve as the most tangible evidence of their existence, hinting at a people who valued permanence and protection. Whether these structures were built as fortifications or as homes, they suggest a highly skilled society capable of adapting to life in the mountains. However, without written records or archaeological artifacts directly linked to them, the mystery of the moon-eyed people remains unresolved. The Cherokee first encountered the moon-eyed people, not through direct contact, but through the discovery of their strange stone homes. Explorers, hunters, and scouts stumbled upon stone fortresses nestled within forested ridges and mountain slopes. These stone walls and dwellings were unlike anything built by the Cherokee, who used wood, bark, and earth to construct their homes. At first, the stone fortresses appeared abandoned. No smoke rose from hearths, and no sounds of life came from within the walls. However, some Cherokee noted subtle signs: footprints in the soft earth, faint traces of fires, and the feeling of being watched from the shadows. The moon-eyed people's ability to vanish during the day and reappear only under the cover of night made it difficult for the Cherokee to determine exactly who these strange neighbors were. The first direct encounters were fleeting. On moonlit nights, Cherokee hunters caught glimpses of pale figures moving silently through the forest. These beings, with their large reflective eyes, seemed to blend into the shadows. Their ability to move without sound unsettled the Cherokee, who found it difficult to track them even when they tried. The moon-eyed people would vanish into their stone homes or disappear into the woods, leaving little evidence behind. The unfamiliar appearance of the moon-eyed people, pale skin, small stature, and large reflective eyes, made them seem otherworldly to the Cherokee. Though these encounters were brief and without conflict, they filled the Cherokee with a sense of unease. Despite their initial fears, the Cherokee came to understand that the moon-eyed people were not hostile. They were reclusive but peaceful, content to live within their stone fortresses and avoid confrontation. The two groups existed in parallel worlds, the Cherokee moving freely during the day, and the moon-eyed people emerging only at night. This division of time allowed them to coexist without direct conflict, though tension simmered beneath the surface. The moon-eyed people's reluctance to communicate created challenges. They did not engage in trade, attend gatherings, or form alliances, making it difficult for the Cherokee to understand their intentions. The Moon-Eyed people's isolation gave rise to rumors and suspicion. Some Cherokee believed they were supernatural beings, while others saw them as an unknown threat that might one day pose a danger. Though they were peaceful, the Moon-Eyed people's presence still unsettled the Cherokee. Their nocturnal lifestyle and strange stone homes suggested that they followed different rules, living outside the natural rhythms of other indigenous tribes. The Cherokee respected their territory, but kept a wary distance, unsure whether to view the Moon-Eyed people as neighbors or intruders. As time passed, the two groups learned to avoid unnecessary contact. The Cherokee expanded their hunting and farming activities during the day, leaving the night to the Moon-Eyed people. This unspoken arrangement allowed both communities to thrive without interfering with each other, but the absence of communication left unanswered questions and a lingering sense of mistrust. The stone walls and fortresses built by the Moon-Eyed people were a constant reminder of their presence. Though they never attacked or sought to harm the Cherokee, their silent and secretive behavior left the Cherokee feeling uneasy. Some elders wondered what the Moon-Eyed people might be hiding, while others saw their reluctance to engage as a sign that they harbored mystical knowledge or hidden intentions. This uneasy coexistence persisted for many years, allowing both groups to survive, but preventing them from ever truly understanding one another. In time, the delicate balance between the two communities would shift, paving the way for conflict. But in those early days, the Moon-Eyed people remained a mystery in the shadows. Hey everyone, just a quick intermission here. I wanted to say thank you for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. Did you know that over 80% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel? If you've enjoyed this content so far, it would be incredible if you could hit that subscribe button. It's a small gesture, but it really helps the channel grow and ensures that you won't miss any more of our fascinating stories we explore together. Also, if you're feeling generous, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share with anyone else who may enjoy it. Your support really does make a difference and keeps the content coming. Thanks again, and let's get back to the story. The Appalachian Mountains, with their rich forests and fertile valleys, provided essential resources for both the Cherokee and the Moon-Eyed people. As the Cherokee expanded, they began to encroach upon the remote areas where the Moon-Eyed people had made their homes. Though the Moon-Eyed people were not farmers, they depended on the land for hunting, gathering, and shelter. Their hidden fortresses and stone homes marked territories they considered their own. At first, the Cherokee tried to avoid conflict by respecting the boundaries of the Moon-Eyed people's lands. However, the pressure to find new hunting grounds and agricultural space made it increasingly difficult to keep these boundaries intact. Cherokee hunters reported seeing signs that the Moon-Eyed people were becoming more active at night, possibly in response to the increasing proximity of Cherokee villages. The Moon-Eyed people made no attempt to defend their land with weapons, but their silent presence in contested areas was unsettling. Some Cherokee interpreted this as a supernatural warning, while others feared that the Moon-Eyed people were spying on their movements or planning something sinister. Despite the lack of aggression, tensions between the two groups steadily escalated. The Moon-Eyed people's refusal to communicate or negotiate only worsened the situation. Cherokee warriors and scouts began to report disturbing encounters. They would find Moon-Eyed people silently observing them from the shadows, only to vanish the moment they were noticed. Others spoke of hearing whispers or strange noises at night, making it difficult to tell whether the Moon-Eyed people were nearby or simply trying to sow fear among the Cherokee. The Moon-Eyed people's habit of avoiding confrontation led some Cherokee to believe that they were cowards or tricksters. Others, however, feared that the Moon-Eyed people possessed hidden powers that made them dangerous. Stories began to spread that the Moon-Eyed people could curse their enemies or summon misfortune. These rumors created a sense of paranoia within the Cherokee community, as warriors and hunters became increasingly uneasy about their mysterious neighbors. As more Cherokee villages expanded into the mountains, minor skirmishes occurred. Though these encounters were brief and without bloodshed, they signaled that conflict was becoming inevitable. The Moon-Eyed people continued to retreat deeper into their stone fortresses and refused to engage with the Cherokee in any meaningful way. This behavior only fueled the Cherokee's belief that they were untrustworthy and dangerous. According to legend, the final spark that ignited conflict came during a full moon, a time when the Moon-Eyed people were at their most active. Cherokee warriors, frustrated by the Moon-Eyed people's refusal to yield or communicate, decided to force them out of the contested land. They planned to launch a surprise attack at dawn, knowing that the rising sun would blind the Moon-Eyed people and leave them defenseless. The attack took place as the first light of day crept over the mountains. Cherokee warriors stormed the Moon-Eyed people's fortresses, overwhelming them with little resistance. The sunlight, which rendered the Moon-Eyed people nearly blind, left them unable to fight or flee. Some tried to retreat into the shadows of their stone homes, but the Cherokee pursued them relentlessly. The Moon-Eyed people, who had avoided conflict for so long, were unprepared for battle. Their peaceful nature and physical frailty left them vulnerable, and many were captured or forced to flee deeper into the wilderness. The stone walls and fortresses that had once sheltered them offered little protection against the determined Cherokee warriors. With their homes destroyed and their lands taken, the surviving Moon-Eyed people fled into the most remote and inaccessible parts of the Appalachian Mountains. The Cherokee believed that many of the surviving Moon-Eyed people fled into caves and hidden valleys, seeking protection from the relentless sunlight that left them vulnerable. These caves, scattered throughout the Appalachian Mountains, provided a perfect refuge. Dark and silent, the caves shielded the Moon-Eyed people from prying eyes and the harsh light of day. Some Cherokee stories suggest that the Moon-Eyed people may have adapted to this underground life, becoming more like nocturnal creatures as they vanished into the earth. Legends say that deep beneath the mountains, they created new homes in caverns, far beyond the reach of the sun. Over time, they became more reclusive and strange, existing only in half-remembered stories passed down by Cherokee elders. It is said that, on rare occasions, hunters would see pale figures emerge from caves on the darkest nights, gathering food or water before retreating back into the earth. These fleeting glimpses were often accompanied by strange sounds or whispers, suggesting that the Moon-Eyed people were still alive, but unwilling to engage with the world above. Another version of the Moon-Eyed people's disappearance suggests that they migrated westward, fleeing the Appalachian Mountains altogether. Some Cherokee believed that the Moon-Eyed people set out on a long and difficult journey, searching for a land where the sunlight was less harsh and where they could live without fear of conflict. This westward migration is shrouded in myth and speculation. Some say the Moon-Eyed people joined other displaced groups, while others believe they perished on the journey. A few legends suggest that they found refuge in distant mountains, continuing their nocturnal way of life in places far beyond Cherokee territory. There are also stories that claim the Moon-Eyed people did not simply migrate, but vanished entirely, traveling into another realm or dimension. In these accounts, their disappearance was not just physical but spiritual. They slipped into the spirit world, never to return to the land of the living. The story of the Moon-Eyed people continues to intrigue historians, archaeologists, and folklorists. While the Cherokee oral tradition preserves the tale of these strange, pale beings, the question remains: did the Moon-Eyed people really exist, or are they merely a product of folklore and myth? One of the strongest pieces of evidence that suggests the existence of the Moon-Eyed people is the presence of stone ruins scattered throughout the Appalachian region. These structures, such as Fort Mountain in Georgia, are distinct from the wooden and earthen homes typically built by indigenous tribes in the area. The stone walls at Fort Mountain stretch over 850 feet and sit along a ridge, forming a winding barrier that may have served as a fortification or boundary. Other lesser-known stone sites, found in remote parts of the Appalachian Mountains, exhibit skilled masonry not commonly associated with Native American tribes of the time. Archaeologists have struggled to determine who built these structures and for what purpose. While some suggest that early Native American cultures might have constructed them, the style and layout of the ruins remain an anomaly. Despite these findings, the stone ruins alone cannot definitively prove the existence of the Moon-Eyed people. No personal artifacts, burial sites, or written records have been found that link these structures directly to the mysterious beings described in Cherokee folklore. The absence of such artifacts leaves room for debate. Were these ruins the work of the Moon-Eyed people, or did they belong to another unknown culture lost to time? Oral tradition plays a crucial role in the history of many indigenous cultures, including the Cherokee. The consistent presence of the Moon-Eyed people in Cherokee folklore suggests that their story is more than mere myth. Unlike other supernatural beings found in Cherokee mythology, the Moon-Eyed people are described with specific physical traits and behaviors, suggesting that they may have been based on a real group of people. The detailed descriptions, pale skin, large eyes, and a nocturnal lifestyle, could reflect an encounter with a different or marginalized group that lived on the fringes of Cherokee society. It is possible that the Moon-Eyed people represented a small, isolated population whose distinct appearance and habits made them seem strange to their neighbors. However, as with all oral traditions, the story may have evolved over time, blending fact with legend. The Moon-Eyed people could have started as a real community, but gradually became mythologized as their presence faded and their story passed down through generations. One hypothesis suggests that the Moon-Eyed people may have been indigenous individuals with albinism, a rare genetic condition that causes pale skin, light hair, and sensitivity to sunlight. If a small community with a higher frequency of albinism existed, their physical traits could have distinguished them from neighboring tribes, giving rise to the legend of the Moon-Eyed people. This theory aligns with several aspects of the story, such as the Moon-Eyed people's aversion to sunlight and their preference for nocturnal activity. It is also possible that the stone homes attributed to them were designed to protect their inhabitants from direct exposure to sunlight. Over time, these individuals might have become social outcasts, choosing to live in isolated communities where their condition would not subject them to ridicule or harm. While this theory offers a scientific explanation for the Moon-Eyed people's appearance and behavior, it remains speculative. There is no direct evidence to suggest that an isolated community of people with albinism lived in the Appalachian region at the time. Some researchers speculate that the Moon-Eyed people, albeit controversial, might have been the early explorers or refugees from distant lands. Some proponents of this idea point to the legend of Prince Madoc of Wales, who, according to Welsh folklore, set sail across the Atlantic in the 12th century with a fleet of ships. The story claims that Madoc and his followers reached North America, settling in what would later become the Appalachian region. Supporters of this theory argue that the pale complexion and unfamiliar stone architecture of the Moon-Eyed people hint at a possible European connection. If a group of Welsh settlers did arrive in the Americas centuries before Columbus, they would have had to adapt quickly to their new environment, living in isolation to avoid conflict with indigenous peoples. Over generations, these settlers may have intermarried with local groups or developed distinct physical traits, such as sensitivity to sunlight, due to a life spent in mountainous or forested terrain. While compelling in its narrative, this theory lacks archaeological evidence. No artifacts or remains have been found to definitively link the Moon-Eyed people to any known European culture. Moreover, the idea of pre-Columbian transatlantic contact remains hotly debated, with most scholars and archaeologists considering it unlikely. Still, the unexplained presence of stone structures leaves open the possibility that an unknown group, whether indigenous or foreign, once lived in the region. The stone ruins attributed to the Moon-Eyed people remain a mystery. Despite numerous archaeological studies, these structures continue to defy easy explanation. Radiocarbon dating of nearby artifacts places some of these sites in the late woodland period, 500 to 1000 CE, though it is unclear whether the Moon-Eyed people, or another group, constructed the walls and fortifications. The absence of tools, pottery, or human remains complicates efforts to trace the origins of these structures. Some scholars believe that the ruins may have served ceremonial purposes rather than defensive ones, while others argue that they represent lost settlements abandoned long before the Cherokee arrived. These ruins are the last physical link to the Moon-Eyed people, and without further discoveries, their true identity may remain unsolved forever. The question of whether the Moon-Eyed people truly existed remains unanswered. The stone structures scattered across the Appalachian region provide intriguing evidence, but they do not offer definitive proof of the Moon-Eyed people's existence. Cherokee oral tradition preserves their memory, suggesting that the Moon-Eyed people may have once been real, whether as a forgotten indigenous group, a community of outcasts, or travelers from distant lands. The scientific theories about their origin, including the albino hypothesis and pre-Columbian contact, provide potential explanations, but remain speculative without concrete evidence. The mystery of the ruins only deepens the intrigue, hinting at a lost civilization, but withholding enough detail to keep their story in the realm of the unknown. Ultimately, the legend of the Moon-Eyed people reflects the complex interplay of history, memory, and myth. Whether they were real people or symbolic figures, their story continues to captivate the imagination. The Moon-Eyed people remind us that some truths remain hidden, waiting to be uncovered, or perhaps meant to remain a mystery forever.